Good evening and welcome to Equipped Live for November 2024. Greg, hello and happy Thanksgiving week.
Good evening.
How was your week so far this week?
Well, it started on Sunday, so that I was spending most of my time with the family with lots of grandkids and enjoyed it.
Excellent. Very
hmm
good. I'm just waiting for some of this rain to turn to snow, and I'm excited about that. So hopefully that's right around the corner. I know a lot of people are going to be upset to hear me even say that. So we are going to continue down the list of questions that were submitted by folks for you to answer. And we do have an interesting one that came in recently, and it's kind of because we just had elections, I decided to ask this question a little bit sooner than putting it at the very end of the list. But the question is from Luke Zaborny, who's with Surtech Manufacturing. And I'll ask the question, but then I want to give a little background from him. He said, have you ever considered running for president, president of the United States? And he says that he feels like you have a strong team that could support you in that, and that you're very well versed in many areas that presidential candidates need to be knowledgeable about. Your background is as a global asset makes it compelling to think about you running or considering such a role. So, Greg, what do you think?
Wow, that's very flattering. To answer the question, have I ever considered running for president of the U.S.? Yes. That said, I've considered a lot of different careers. Some of them didn't take long to consider. And I think president of the United States is one of those that I didn't spend a lot of time, but I've thought about those things. One of the challenges with running for really any elected office, but particularly the president of the United States, is that the competencies that you need to win votes and to run for election are really different than the competencies that are appropriate to govern well, which, by the way, are different than the competencies needed to run a business well. And so as I think about that stuff, of course, we've talked a lot about hedgehog concepts and hedgehog overlaps. And so if I ask myself, does that really fit in my hedgehog overlap? The answer is no. I don't think those competencies fit for me. And so that was one of the things I considered, but didn't do anything about. If I do look at what is inside my hedgehog overlap, and if that was, my next question typically is to consider what has the greatest potential to positively impact the world. And so I've got a number of weeks to do that. And we all have a number of weeks to do that. And that's really what has been guiding me as far as what I spend my effort on and where I invest my hedgehog overlap.
So the fact that this question was asked now, does it kind of re-spark the thought on maybe you should consider that?
No.
I thought that would be your response to that. I would love to take this down a little bit of a rabbit trail. We don't have time for that, but dig deeper into what you said about the competencies not aligning between what it takes to win a campaign, what it takes to govern, and what it takes to run a business. Very different competencies, and we see what that does. So thank you for answering that. And Luke, thank you for submitting that question. So moving on. So there's something called the Fourth Industrial Revolution or Industry 4.0. You might need to give a little background as to what that is, but the question submitted by Jeff Bodwine from AMI is, how can the IFMC be a leader in the Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Well, I can answer that really from two different angles here. One would be the intra-IFMC angle, and the other would be inter-IFMC. And so intra means for the connections between the business units that are members of the IFMC. So inside the IFMC, inter-IFMC is between the businesses in the IFMC and companies outside. So what a lot of times gets referred to as outside sales. If I answer that first from the intra-IFMC perspective, I'm not sure our customers care whether or not we're a leader in Industry 4.0. And so if they don't care, it's really not a priority for me. I think what is the priority is how do we solve problems that Industry 4.0 can help us solve better. So that would be the intra-IFMC response. Inter-IFMC, there again, I think the focus needs to be on satisfying the customers, solving the customers' problems. And if we can do that, if we can design products that solve those problems better, that maybe automatically adapt to changing conditions within the system that those products work in, that's really how to use Industry 4.0. And so I think instead of striving to be a leader in Industry 4.0, I think we should strive to use that as a mechanism to satisfy and solve customer problems.
So I am aware of some sort of Industry 4.0 projects and processes and changes that are happening in the IFMC. Is there anything in particular that you can think of that the Industry 4.0 or Fourth Industrial Revolution has provided as far as value for the IFMC?
It's difficult. It's difficult to pick on any one of those things because Industry 4.0 is maybe more of a system-related technology. And a lot of our products are components in a system. And so maybe the best way to deal with this is by example. And I'll take this kind of to extremes. And since Jeff asked the question, if we maybe look at a scenario where we apply that to shredders, and maybe what we say is, look, the shredding systems that we're trying to design are to enable, first off, end users not having to sort or pre-sort any of their waste. They can just throw it away and be done. When the garbage truck dumped the contents onto the in-feed mechanism of Amerishred's equipment or Amos equipment, it automatically processes it, and the output is automatically sorted by the different materials, and the system automatically favors the material that has the highest current market value at the time, or maybe the lowest cost to dispose of. And so the Industry 4.0 is really, those are the mechanisms that enable the process to adapt to other conditions outside the component themselves. And so if that's the goal, let's just say, and I'm making this up on the fly here, so this may be aligned with what Amerishred is doing, maybe it's counter, I'm not sure. But if that was the goal, then Industry 4.0 are the mechanisms that allow that adaptation in real time or near real time. And so are any of those things going on? Yeah, I bet they are. The way that typically happens is you typically start, well, ideally, we start with a strategy canvas so that we understand what is it we're really trying to solve for the customer? What are we going to get really good at, and what are we not going to try to get good at? And so if we know what those factors of competition are for the strategy canvas, and now we can automate the systems to deliver those factors of competition, that's where you really need Industry 4.0. And my guess is we're doing that, but I'm just not intimately familiar with what Amerishred and what Amos and Jeff are doing.
Okay. So, and this is, again, it's kind of all in that same category of the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0. So Industry, for the people that are watching, Industry 4.0 really talks a lot about real-time data, or as close to real time as possible. And so another question that same team asked was, will our internally developed or homegrown software and tools, which internally we call the GEM tools, be able to keep the IFMC relevant, automated, and scalable as we and others in the world are moving toward this real-time data?
I would say yes. And matter of fact, I think without that, we would really, really struggle. And I'll take this to extremes again. There's certain software that you want to buy, and certain software that only you can develop on your own. And so if you look at, let's say, a word processor, like Microsoft Word or Google Docs or something of that nature, you shouldn't try to compete by writing your own word processing or your own email system or that sort of thing, because there are a lot of folks, a lot of companies that have done a really good job. That's pretty mature. It's sorted out. But if you have proprietary processes, and so think about the shredding system that I just talked about, if you've got proprietary systems to enable customers to not pre-sort garbage, but automatically process it into materials sorted by value, where are you going to buy that software? That's where we really need to be focused with our development. And so the GEM tools are really our enterprise software for the IFMC economy. You can buy enterprise software for businesses. I'm not aware of enterprise software for economies. And so that's really where the GEM tools shine. Are there downsides and things that maybe seem like they could be better? Yeah. If you're looking at it from the paradigm of a BGM or an independent business unit, and assuming that the tools for the IFMC should be just like what's in for a business unit, yeah, I can see how there could be some misunderstandings there. But to answer the question, yes, absolutely, I think that we can do that. And in addition to that, AI now is enabling different types of software to talk to each other in a way that just was not possible before. And so we are actively looking at that. Part of the challenge there is the cybersecurity. And of course, that's kind of a hidden threat behind the scenes. When everything is working well, you just don't think about it. But when it isn't working well, oh my, that disrupts a lot. And matter of fact, Jackie, you and I and Paul just talked before the meeting that Microsoft is having some issues today. And I'm not sure it was cybersecurity related, but we were concerned that maybe we wouldn't be able to have this call or this meeting today because of that.
Yeah, I think if anybody watched the a certain boxing match that happened recently through Netflix, they recognize the challenges that come with trying to use technology in new ways and new platforms.
Mhm.
So yeah. So I know we're at 6:15, but I do want to ask this one last question. I really like this question. It was also submitted from that same team, Jeff's team. But what is one task or job function that you have enjoyed, but that you had to give up or delegate because the IFMC has grown over the years?
I really did enjoy fabricating, and I really enjoyed working alongside of craftsmen. But I do enjoy solving problems even more. And so I've really been fortunate in that, the more I delegate to competent people, the tougher the problems are that you see. So the easier problems get solved, the tougher ones end up being exposed, and that's something I sometimes get involved with solving. And so to some degree, the problems, the size, I've grown with the size of the problems, I think. And so, I've been fortunate that I guess my hedgehog has kind of adjusted along with the organization. And so I just really enjoy the problem solving part of it.
Do
But
you have,
I do
go ahead.
miss I do miss the fabricating and working direct with craftsmen that are actually building things and actually you're able to look at what you did at the end of the day, and I miss that.
So maybe not in the shops for the IFMC, but do you ever get to do hands-on fabrication for your own projects or anything anymore?
A little bit, but it's not the same.
Yeah. You're probably not modifying things to make them go faster anymore like you used to, right?
No, I tend to just buy that now.
Right. So you're not as hands-on, but I really like that question. I thought that was an interesting one. So we will end there because we are at our time. Greg, would you like to add anything additional to this conversation?
Well, as far as actions go, I'd really encourage everyone to look at their hedgehog, or excuse me, look at their strategy canvas, look at what those factors of competition are, adjust those if necessary to incorporate Industry 4.0, because the technology has changed a lot and the competitors are looking at that. So I think we need to be incorporating that, adjusting our strategy canvases, maybe developing new ones. But my sense is that we've got a lot of sharp people that are maybe excited about that. And just judging by the AI example call that happens, and I forget what we call that, but boy, there's some pretty good attendance, and that seems to me to indicate that there's lots of people interested, which is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. That call's been really informative, so it's been great. All right. Well, we will, for everybody watching, we will get a date out for the December event. So just watch your email for that. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, Greg, yourself included, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Happy holidays. Thanks.